Reverend is the most pretty good YouTuber of all time. When it comes to Pokemon analysis videos, Reverend is a channel that really stands out. With interesting subject matter, a sarcastic sense of humor to his writing, and an editing style that must be very time-consuming, full of clever visual gags, a Reverend upload is always a treat. As a fellow YouTuber, I find it very encouraging to see people respond so well to this expressive video style, and I think we can all learn a bit from Reverend. And remember to include a bit of humor and personal flair to our own videos. Reverend has been a heavily requested guest, so I'm honored to be chatting with him today. Welcome to the Fridge podcast, and how are you?
I am doing good, Jimothy Cool. I just got done doing my semester project presentation for my computer science class, so I'm excited to do basically the same thing again, but with lower stakes this time.
I wanted to ask you about your name Reverend, because it's an interesting name. It's a catchy one. I like it. Is it perhaps a reference to the Simpsons character Reverend Lovejoy? You got a lot of Simpsons.
It is not.
Okay.
It's literally just an arbitrary kind of cool sounding word. When I made my my original internet presence was me joining the Cerebi.net chat room, wherein my tag was Altaria King. And I got very attached to that, but when I made my Xbox 360 gamer tag, it was not cool to like Pokemon at that point in my life, so I didn't want to just have a Pokemon's name in it. And I just needed any arbitrary word to put in front of the letters AK, and I thought that was the coolest thing for someone to call me when I was 13.
I would love to see the alternate universe where you maintained the Altaria King identity. That's like a classic Pokemon YouTuber name.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's definitely a first ever YouTuber's name.
I think my first ever online username was #1 Kirby fan, which is just so lame.
You would have a hell of a lot of competition for that title. I hope that you
it probably was
up.
not true. I think I was lying. There's bigger Kirby fans out there.
It's also, there's no religious connection to my name. I'm always kind of conscious about that.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. That might have been something. But perhaps your videos are like a sermon with respect to moves that are sometimes useless in Generation 1, but also not.
Yeah, I've kind of thought about it that way too.
Speaking of which, you're another YouTuber who primarily makes Pokemon videos about Gen 1, and I spoke with Big Yellow recently about that too. The unique allure of competitive Gen 1 and the interesting quirks of all that. What draws you to Gen 1? Is it your favorite to play, or is it just make for good video topics because of all the unique things to talk about?
It's not my favorite to play, but it's definitely my favorite to talk about. I think It's got so many interesting things going on. Because you would think that since it's the first ever generation, you would think it's the most simple one with the most basic mechanics. But it actually has the most amount of mechanics that are not in any other game. They're just completely unique to RBY.
That's true.
Half of them just sound fake when you explain them, countering your own explosion.
Or the level 85 Jinx thing, or the random mischance on everything. Yeah, the level 85
stuff is nuts. They actually, I don't know if you're aware of this, they recently confirmed, as of a couple months ago, this thing that people had been saying about RBY for a while but never gave a source for, that the first string of RNG seed values are rigged. So the person that goes first on the first turn of an RBY battle can actually always hit a 100 accuracy move. You'll never get a 125 or 256 miss with it.
That's crazy. Are they going to implement that? How do you even do that in the simulator?
Yeah, I have no idea. It also, you also can't get a max roll. Well, the one thing it changes, you can't get a max roll with it. That means that now Dodrio doesn't have a greater than 50% chance of killing Jinx with Hyper Beam turn 1.
No.
So jot that down.
Okay, nobody tell Showdown about that one. Let's maintain the Dodrio niche, folks.
Yeah, that's a huge heartbreaker for me, if I'm being honest.
Sometimes we discover cartridge mechanics that we never knew about years later, and it is kind of a shame. Like, did you know that in Gen 3, if you knock off an item, after your item is knocked off, you can't actually thief and steal an item again. It's hard-coded so that it considers you to still have the item, it just removes its effect. It doesn't actually remove the item. So thief won't work. So that kind of removed the niche of thief Skarmory who would take a knockoff from Hariyama and then be able to steal leftovers back from something else, which is kind of a shame.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because I only really started playing Gen 3 battles recently, and it gives you that really long message after you click knockoff. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, this is not like knockoff in other generations.
Yeah, it is a bit weird. And as I mentioned before, your editing style is very time consuming, it seems like, and probably creatively draining a little bit too, since it feels like in every moment you have like a joke or a visual gag. What kind of standard do you hold yourself to with your videos, and do you ever get like writer's block or feel some pressure to maintain that level of detail?
I do probably hold myself to a higher,
That would be interesting.
Standard that I should. I'm like really meticulous with my stuff, but I want the videos I make now to be ones that I think that I would actually watch, because for the longest time I just made like pretty honestly mediocre current gen replay showdown videos for a while, but like I don't watch other people making showdown replay videos, so I never really invested that much into it. But like the fact that people are, validating me now, like they tell me that they like whatever I did here, they think this looks good, that just drives me to, make something that I feel like other people are going to actively watch. The way I make my videos is like really weird and inefficient, and I would not recommend it to anyone else, but like I do rehearse what I'm going to say quite a bit, but the visual element, I'm not thinking about it at all when I'm actually recording the voiceover. I only do that when I actually put it out on the timeline, and then pretty much every scene I'm like, okay, well, what is going to look good here? What do I think should go here? What's going to segue into this? That's
so much effort, it sounds like, but it pays off. It pays off, because your videos are really, I'm quite a fan. Especially as an editor myself, like personally, I like to keep things simple. I'm mostly just sprinkle in some humor here and there, some funny gags, but it's mostly just analysis. And the visuals don't have to be super complex for what I do, but I appreciate how much effort you put in.
I do love just making it like as dense as I can, because I always try to put like little Easter eggs in my videos too. But that's the fun part to me, is the video editing. I actually don't, like, my least favorite part by far is when I have to just like awkwardly sit in front of my microphone and just like say all this stuff that I've been thinking about for however long it took me to gather my thoughts.
Do you usually script them, or is it more of an improv, like click record and keep the best take?
They're like, for all intents and purposes, they're scripted, other than the fact that I don't really write it down. Like, I'll get an outline of what I want to say, but I will like rehearse each bullet point in that while I'm doing something else, like if I'm like driving to work or doing chores or something, and I'll just work out whatever is the most concise way to say something that also ends in a joke. So I know pretty much what I'm going to say, like before I actually go into the recording studio, as it were.
Right, so you kind of rehearse it in your head and then put it into film.
I do end up going back and like redoing entire parts a lot of the time too. In the counter video, there's a part in the middle I had to do 3 times, because the first time I did it, I was taking the information from the Bulbapedia page of the moves that you can use counter after, but I didn't realize they meant that those are moves that you can use. I thought they were saying it was moves your opponent could use. So like I recorded it with that and then tried to get footage of it and realized it didn't work. So then I recorded it again saying Bulbapedia was wrong, and then I realized I just got the information wrong, and then recorded it a 3rd time and actually said like the right thing.
That could be annoying when you get a mechanic wrong in the script, and then later you realize when you're getting footage, like, wait a sec, I'm a buffoon. I've done that a few times, and you got to re-record.
Yeah.
Or add a little note on screen like, sorry, I'm an idiot, I said the wrong thing, folks.
Yeah, I was very close to just doing that, because I was like, I don't want to do it again.
The thing is, when you record on a different day, it sounds very obviously like a little different. So there's just one part that's like, maybe people won't notice, but it's like added in post. So
yeah, It's because that's what I always think. Because like I'll notice it immediately. Because I do that a lot. Well,
Yeah.
where I'll only re-record like a couple of sentences in the middle of like a larger point that I'm trying to make, and then I go back and listen to it, and I know it's there, and it just makes me be like, well, everyone else is gonna know it's there instantly too.
I've found that people actually don't really notice unless you draw attention to it. It's subtle enough, or they're not paying much attention to that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The like audio files are real freaks. You only get them every once in a while, but like they know what they're talking about.
Those guys are helpful, to be honest.
Yeah,
Giving me advice on how to use
like,
pop filters in the comments. Like, I noticed that I heard a plosive at 1:30. Perhaps stand this distance from your mic. I'm like, actually, yeah, it does sound better. Thanks, mate.
yeah, no, I love it. I love it when people tell me something I could do better. I think that's very helpful. I do strive to make, do something better in each video than I did in the last one.
Well, there you go.
That's kind of that's definitely, sorry, that's like the thing I'm the most self-conscious about in my videos specifically, if I'm being honest, is the audio quality. I need to learn way more about audio mixing and actually like making it sound good, I think.
Yeah, it can be difficult. Sometimes I'm like not sure why something sounds weird. Like on one day the mic will just be peaking, or it can be complicated. I also try to make my audio sound nice to the best of my ability. Speaking of like the passion behind video editing and the creative joy that comes from that, is YouTube something that you would like to turn into a career, or would that kind of remove the fun of it? Because when it becomes a career, there's more of an expectation to upload on a consistent basis. But if it's kind of just a creative hobby, that can kill the magic a bit, put you under more pressure than you might want to be. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that is something that I've thought about a lot, because this is like something that I only started doing as a hobby, because like especially recently, because like I had made videos on and off for since I was in high school, really just taking like 2 or 3 year hiatuses in between coming back. But like during COVID quarantine, I desperately needed something to do, so I wanted to like actually learn how to video edit better, and I do have a lot of fun doing it, and I think I would rather not have the sense of obligation and like only make videos when I want to make them and want to make them good for me, and not like out of the sense of doing it for someone else. And I think that like if it was my full-time job, I do think I would lose some of the passion for it, if I'm being honest.
You mentioned you're studying computer science. Is that your career path at the moment?
Yeah, I'm taking programming classes right now. I think that would be the ideal.
I did a bit of that myself. Not at university or anything. I went to one of those like game design courses as a young kid who liked video games, and I learned programming and stuff. But I quickly realized that in Australia there's not too much of a games industry, and it's also very competitive. So kind of that dream fizzled out a bit for me.
Yeah, the games programming definitely feels like chasing waterfalls a little bit. I feel like I'm probably just going to end up like working at a call center or something.
Yeah. I think, to be honest though, learning programming helped me with like organizing my projects in other areas, like with videos, and having good, like you learn about how to name your variables and keep everything structured, and like stuff like that. That actually helps.
Documentation and everything.
Helps with organization and stuff.
Yeah, I definitely struggle with that. I'd never like make bins in my Adobe Premiere file for like A-roll, B-roll, voiceover, background music, or anything. I just all throw it in there with very generic file names, like video1.mp4.
I don't do that either. I guess in that sense, maybe I'm not editing in the traditional way, but I do have, like, I've made up all my own little systems. Maybe you have too.
I am good about keeping like my layers consistent, like especially the audio ones. Like layer 1 is always the background music, and then the voiceover, and then sound effects after that.
Yeah, as long as you got a system that works for you, that's what's most important.
Yeah.
We got a question from the community from Eclipsion, who asks, what is the story behind your profile picture? Natu with shades rocks, but why specifically Natu?
It's just funny. I think it's just funny because Natu is just like a bunch of shapes. It's just like this little thing, and it's trying to front and look cool. I like the confidence of it.
It is a good image. Natu is a cute Pokemon. It's just a sphere. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a little Borb. It's also like the perfect dimensions to awkwardly paste over someone's face in a meme or something.
True.
It's like the exact like circle, like square ratio.
And it fits in the YouTube profile picture circle perfectly as well.
Yeah, it's like
There you
perfect.
go.
It's insane.
It's a perfect creature. There you go. Yellow Cheese asks, where and when did you start your competitive Pokemon journey?
So I've played Pokemon since RBY, like since I was literally like too young to know how to read. But like I was playing the Battle Frontier and I wanted to look up how to beat the Frontier Brains, and that's how I found out what EVs were, because it took me to the Bulbapedia page. I was like, what the hell is this? And like went to Cerebi.net and they had the Pokemon of the Week articles where they would give you like a competitive set and it would have like hidden power grass. And I was like, what is that? Where do you get hidden power grass? I only have hidden power. But I learned about the like all that and what the natures did. I didn't actually start playing the PvP until Gen 4 when I watched Maryland Wi-Fi battles on YouTube, and I started like searching for games in the Cerebi.net chat. And in Gen 5, I started playing on like Pokemon Online, and since then I've been keeping up with whatever the current gen is, trying to stay
Oh my
like
gosh.
reasonably well versed in it.
You're quite old school then, even before me. I started with Pokemon Online in Gen 5 myself. I mean, played the series before that, but the Gen 4 Wi-Fi battles is crazy. That was a long
I was
time ago.
definitely not. I was definitely just using like Ash's anime team and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was not actually using like proper Smogon teams.
I
But
think
like,
back then it was kind of the Wild West. There wasn't as much structure going on.
yeah, because even when I did learn about like Smogon tiers and everything, I would try to find matches and be like, "Do you want to play Gen 4 OU?" And someone would message you back, but they would never be like, "Okay." It would always be like, "Yeah, I don't do any of that tier stuff, but I'll play you." And you just had to hope that they were using like not 6-box legendaries or something like that.
The self-imposed tiering formats. What a world.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That have you been too involved with the tournament side of Smogon, or how seriously have you taken the game throughout the years as a competitor?
I've never been like a super competitive ladder player or a super competitive player. I've always been like a mid ladder, just using Pokemon I like kind of
Right.
player. I have entered a couple Smogon tournaments in the last year. I entered the RBY ZU tournament and the ADV Little Cup one.
Gen 3 Little Cup is
I
very
did.
fun.
It's so strange. It's like a completely different game with the way that like you like can't one hit KO anything, but then the Citrus Berry just gives everything like their second life bar.
That's true. Yeah, his moves are pretty weak.
I do
Doduo
appreciate
is
Porygon
insane.
being the best Pokemon. Oh yeah, Doduo too.
It's a fun selection. I think I prefer Gen 3 ZU though, which actually has a lot of the same Pokemon, like Elekid, and I think Porygon is actually a bit better than ZU. I can't recall, but
I played a couple of games of ADVZU and I swore off of it because like I literally could not kill Lileep.
oh yeah, Little Leap is
And
effed up.
after it used Recover like the 17th time, I just like vowed to never play that tier again, if I'm being honest.
There must be ways to break a Little Leap. There must be.
The lower tiers of ADV are so strange. Like they're so low power level because like you just said, like ZU is mostly just NFEs, like the best NFEs available. Because all of the ADV Pokemon are consolidated in BL because it's got like 50 Pokemon in it. So you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel by the time you get to ZU.
Yeah, the premier threat is Apom, who has like 70 attack, and that's
Yeah,
the peak of power down there.
banned from Gen 7 LC. That's a powerful Pokemon.
That's damn true. For some reason, people kept asking about Gen 7 LC Ubers. Is this some kind of funny joke? They want you to make a video about Gen 7 LC Ubers.
Well, breaking news, I am obligated to make the Gen 7 LC Ubers video because I said that I would if someone in my Discord was able to use a Nidoqueen counter on a Tauros Hyper Beam after switching into it, and they did, so I have to do it now. It was just like something I said in, I I think it was in the usually useless moves video because I was talking about Apom getting banned for using Fury swipes, and it was just as a joke because like, does anyone value the Gen 7 LC Ubers metagame? It's got this like mystique to it. I am kind of interested in it because it's like Scyther gets banned from Little Cup every single generation instantly, but what if you just let him cook?
That does sound cool. Similar to your Gen 1 Ubers, where it's just the same format but with one extra guy who dominates. That's always
There's just something about the really centralized formats, because there's always like one Pokemon that you can use that will have some kind of reasonable counterplay to it.
Well, I'm looking forward to the inevitable Gen 7 LC Ubers video. That should be coming shortly, folks.
Yeah, maybe Scyther is pretty good, who knows?
Are you familiar with Golitis, the YouTuber?
I am not, actually.
Oh, I guess he's a fan of yours. He asked a question here. He's a Game of Thrones YouTuber. He has a lot of good videos about Game of Thrones. Have you seen that television series?
I've seen the first episode of Game of Thrones on about 3 occasions.
I see.
It has a very good first episode.
It does have a very good first episode. I don't know if I'd recommend watching it, because famously it really dips in quality towards the later seasons. But
Yeah, so I've heard.
the earlier episodes are excellent. Anyway, he asked, if counter could counter, how much base power would a counter have? And that's an interesting question. I'm assuming he's talking about Gen 1 mechanics where you can counter like the following turn after taking the attack, and then what if you could counter that counter?
That's actually, well, you can't counter your opponent's counter, but you can counter your own counter.
Wow. Whoa.
But and it will just keep doing like twice as much damage every time you do it.
How do you counter your own counter?
If you get Seismic Toss on your Chansey and you counter the Seismic Toss and then like they switch or get paralyzed or something, you can just counter again and you're going to be countering your own counter damage from the previous turn.
That's bizarre. That must be a weird programming thing happening there.
I noticed it one time when I was doing a ladder battle and I was like half paying attention and it was my Chansey against their Chansey, as often happens in this tier. And I was just like kind of looking away and I looked back and I had just taken like 70% damage because I kept trying to soft boil and I kept getting like fully paralyzed and they just kept countering their own counter from where they had countered my Seismic Toss like 3 turns ago.
That's hilarious. I swear every time I talk about Gen 1 I learn about some new mechanic. In the comments it's like, oh, you're wrong, Jimothy. Actually, this is the case. What was it recently? There was like, I don't even remember. I think I learned that multi-hit moves, I thought they all had an individual crit chance, but or is it the opposite? They don't all have an individual crit chance.
Yeah, it's
preset.
Literally only the first one. Like either none of them crit or all of them will crit.
Yeah,
and it's based on if the first one would.
I, like an idiot, I said, oh, Jolteon has 2 crit chances against Chansey with double kick, but no, Jimothy, you're a buffoon. It's predetermined like everything else in the world.
There was Inagami was talking about using Fury Swipes Persian in RBY at one point, and I think it was because like if you do the Fury Swipes and it doesn't crit, then there was some Pokemon that if it countered would not kill you, but if you did crit the Fury Swipes, then it would always kill that Pokemon anyway.
Wow. So it's
yeah, it was some like 7th level chess type.
What's that called in
like
fighting?
Like
option select in fighting games or something, where if they do one thing, you'd have an answer anyway or something. That's crazy.
Yeah. But it was just with this like crappy move that no one has ever used in any Smogon context, and that doesn't even really work how the way you would think it would in RBY.
That's unbelievable. That's what can happen when there's so little options. Like a particular interaction like that suddenly has a bit of value. Like against this specific Pokemon, I have 2 universes where the outcome is okay. And maybe if the Fury Swipe doesn't crit or something, he's in Hyper Beam range or some crap like that.
Yeah, like you could definitely, because even if you get a non-crit one, then you can just like slash them next turn or whatever. But like you couldn't just slash them at full HP, because if you did that, then they would be able to kill you with counter. I wish I could remember what the other meta Pokemon was other than Persian.
This sounds like a video topic, if you haven't already talked about such a thing. Maybe you have.
I don't actually know that much about the RBY lower tiers, other than ZU, because I actually did play a lot of games of that for the Smogon tournament. And I think that's a really fun metagame.
Who's good in that?
It's the dominant threat is Pidgeot.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, it's literally just like the last Pokemon left with the best stab moves that do damage. And it's the second fastest Pokemon in the tier. The only thing faster than it is Primeape.
Now that's a metagame. Primeape and Pidgeot having fun.
Primeape is so funny because like it feels so bad to use because it like doesn't do any damage, but it's just faster than Pidgeot, so that makes it better than almost every other Pokemon in the metagame other than Pidgeot.
What a world. I assume it gets Hyper Beam and stuff.
Yeah, it does. It also gets Thunderbolt, which does more to reflect Pidgeot than
How the hell do they
does.
How the hell do they justify that one logically? Primeape
I
can
don't
use
know what's
Thunderbolt?
going on with Primeape. Primeape feels like it should have been a normal type instead of a fighting type. Oh, speaking of like obscure RBY mechanics, one of the games I played, I used Bide Pidgeot, and it got a kill because
My
when you
gosh.
use Bide in Gen 1, and they like hit you with a move that does damage the first turn you use it, but the turns after that they use like, rest or reflect or something, it will keep applying the damage from the first turn to the subsequent turns. So even if they try to like not do any more damage to you, you'll still bide them for like 1 billion damage on the third turn.
What the hell, folks?
Yeah.
What's going on in Gen 1?
It's still a terrible move, but like Pidgeot literally has nothing else. Like it has Hyper Beam and Agility, and then you can just use any other 2 arbitrary moves. And I thought that one might be able to do something, and I did successfully kill the other Pidgeot with it.
Incredible. It goes so deep, folks. It's unbelievable. Yeah. You made a very humorous video recently, I think for April Fools, called Top 5 Suezos. Suezo is the mascot of the Monster Rancher franchise. Do you have any affinity for the Monster Rancher games, or was that just a complete work of comedy?
I have quite an affinity for Suezo. I don't really care that much for Monster Rancher, but like there's something about Suezo. Suezo's just like got the panache. It's got the star power.
It is a funny character. Suezo is a very interesting name for like a Pikachu competitor. It sounds a bit like it's not like marketable. I don't know. It's a bizarre name.
Yeah, I think that's what I like so much about it. Because Monster Rancher had the other mascot they tried to push first, and it was like it's like Mochi. It's like the thing that looks like the duck platypus with like the green thing on its back.
But Suezo captured the hearts of the gamers.
Yeah, they just went with this like awful looking little monster, this little gremlin.
Well, Mike Wazowski guy.
And they were right. Yeah, they made the right decision.
I never really... when I was like too young to understand games, I remember my brother playing it on the PS1, and I thought like well, the monsters look cool, but I never really... I think I played like the GBA version on an emulator, and I didn't really know what I was doing either. But I always did kind of like the design of Suezo as a kid, for some reason. It's a funny guy.
It's got like the perfect amount of details. I love that kind of character that like you would be able to draw from memory, but like they're still super expressive.
Exactly. It's just an eyeball with a single leg.
Yeah.
What a guy. And there's even a melon Suezo. That was a funny video. Is there really just like... They got 5 different Suezos. They got Patrick Suezo.
I wish that I had made the Patrick Suezo joke.
I saw that
like,
in a
3
comment.
different people did it in the comments, yeah.
We'll go check that video out, folks. It was a brilliant work of comedy.
If people want to watch like an actual analysis of Monster Rancher, there's this guy, I think he's named Moose Bones, that does competitive Monster Rancher videos.
Competitive Monster
He
Rancher.
talks about like the competitive Monster Rancher is weird because like you don't have the players control the monsters. You just have people like submit their monsters, and it's basically like salty bets, and they just like do their thing because you can have the CPUs control them, and they'll just fight. I don't know anything about the meta for it. You can watch his channel to figure out.
That's so interesting. It's like an auto battler before auto battles existed. Maybe. I will check out that channel. I'm curious now.
People have said that he has a similar delivery to me too.
Well, there you go. Perfect. Another series that you've featured a few times on your channel is Yu-Gi-Oh! Famous card game franchise. What's your relationship with Yu-Gi-Oh! And card games in general? I'm quite a card game fan. Haven't particularly dived into Yu-Gi-Oh! Though, but I've heard interesting things about it. Like there always seems to be game-breaking combos and instability and power grip in that game, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I don't play other card games. I think that I would enjoy them if I did. I've always been interested in Magic, but just like I don't really have the time to learn a whole new genre of game because like the Yu-Gi-Oh knowledge will not translate to any other card game at all. I feel like it's so distinct from every other card game because it's like it's in Yu-Gi-Oh it's functionally like you have access to your whole deck on turn 1 of the game because like the cards are able to just, like tutor into each other and you can search everything and you can get your combo pieces. So it just comes down to resource management, kind of like how Pokemon does, honestly, where it's like a resource-based game, but you're not gaining resources, you're just like metering the resources that you're losing. And I think that's really, really interesting that in Yu-Gi-Oh! You can just pop off and just like play every single card from your deck in one turn and then just like destroy the other person. It feels like a very anime moment, like every Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel.
That's quite interesting. That is very different to most other card games, which are more about playing with the hands that you're dealt and managing RNG a little bit, managing the luck of the draw.
Yeah, like there's no ramp up. It's just Yu-Gi-Oh's just all gas, like from turn 1.
Doesn't that make it a bit uninteractive? Like the first player will just do a huge combo.
There's more than you would think because the whole point of Yu-Gi-Oh is that you can like play cards on your opponent's turn too.
Yeah.
And it has hand traps, which you can literally just like they're effect monsters that you can discard from your hand at a certain point in your opponent's combo. And it's like if your opponent is adding a card from their deck to their hand, negate that effect. If they're reviving something from the graveyard, banish it instead, stuff like that. So if you're familiar with like the meta strategies and like the lines they have, you know when it would be advantageous for you to interrupt their combo. And like when, if you tried to do that, they would just be able to do something else instead. So there is like interaction to it. It just is mostly going to be taking place. Like you're going to interact with your opponent more on their turn than you are on your own. It's kind of weird.
Sounds like it can get quite complicated. Maybe should I become a Yu-Gi-Oh channel, folks? Should I pivot?
I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! It seems like the hardest game in the world to learn if you don't already know stuff about it.
That sounds like it.
Because it has no set rotation like other card games do. So it just has like 25 years of mechanics all awkwardly layered on top of each other.
That's crazy.
And like the effect of a Yu-Gi-Oh card will be different based on whether it has a comma in the middle of it or if it's a semicolon.
That's what's crazy about the physical card games, the amount of card text. And what is it called in Magic? Like the stack or something, the order of operations.
Yeah.
You need like a literal judge to figure out who won in some situations.
Yeah, in Yu-Gi-Oh it's the chain.
The chain. That sounds
that's definitely like the biggest downside of Yu-Gi-Oh is the amount of reading you have to do to get into it. And the cards look so crappy at this point too, because like the cards are so small, but they have this like paragraphs worth of text in the smallest font you've ever seen. It like hurts my eyes to look at them.
Like, you just gotta memorize every card at that point. You can't be reading as you play.
Yeah, you kind of just have to know what your cards do and then know what some of the current meta cards do. And then you just kind of figure it out. I don't like super keep up with Yu-Gi-Oh! I kind of go with phases with it, but I think it's fun. It's been something that I've liked since I was a kid, so might as well keep liking it, I guess.
It does have a charm to it. It's like the one card game that feels like it was a huge franchise similar to Pokemon or something, and the anime was kind of a natural extension of the game, because in the anime they're playing with the same cards that you can buy yourself. It's like a little bit immersive, I guess, in that way.
Yeah, it's like the closest you could come to just making like a 30-minute commercial.
Yeah, but I do like when all the media is integrated in that way. Like the TV show is linked to the game. As in, like Pokemon, the way the mechanics work in the show is not exactly one-to-one with the game. Maybe that's not. Maybe in Yu-Gi-Oh it's not either. But I don't know. I think it's a bit more.
It pretty much is from the anime to the card game. They don't do any of the super explosive combos that last like 30 minutes. Something cool about Yu-Gi-Oh in relation to that is that they could like have a card debut in the anime and then put it out in a card set later, and it would get you super hyped for it. That's not really something that they can do in Pokemon. I guess maybe they could do it now with DLC if they decided they wanted to put like a Raging Bolt in the anime first before they put the DLC out to get people hyped for it.
It's kind of a genius level marketing, isn't it? They've done it. I've played one game of Yu-Gi-Oh! In my life on like a simulator against my friend. He wanted me to try it. I used this deck I found online where you like play a rabbit and then you swap it for something else and it becomes a ginormous monster and then you just kill him in 1 second. And I was just clicking stuff.
Dino Rabbit deck?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, Rescue Rabbit's one of the funniest cards of all time. That's one of the most busted cards ever, but it's just like this sweet little bunny.
I was looking at decks, I was like, why is this rabbit in it? And I discovered that it was epic. Anyway, I wanted to ask you, your profile picture on Twitter is, I believe it's Christopher from The Sopranos. Maybe it's the same actor and something else? No, it is The Sopranos. You a fan of The Sopranos?
I am an enormous fan of The Sopranos.
Ah, me too.
I've used several clips from it in videos before. What I like about it in my Twitter profile picture is that it kind of looks like the Natu because he's got like the sunglasses on and he's at the same angle. Yeah, and he's got a big nose. I'm allowed to say that because I have a big nose too.
Who's your favorite character from The Sopranos, you think?
I think Paulie is so funny. Oh, no, you know what? Okay, my hot take answer is actually Livia Soprano.
Yeah, I was surprised recently. There was like a survey of the most hated TV characters, and Livia Soprano was like near the top. And I was surprised. I thought she was hilarious in the show.
Yeah, she's so funny. I wish the Lord would take me now. She's just so like miserable in every scene.
I guess she's written to be annoying, so it makes sense that the general audience wouldn't like her, but I think that's obviously the intent, and like you could see how she affected Tony significantly. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's should I be concerned about spoiling this show from 20 years ago?
We can put a spoiler warning, perhaps.
Okay.
Spoiler warning.
It's a shame that, she wasn't able to stay in the rest of the series after she like passed away in real life. Have you looked at what the story for that season was supposed to be?
I didn't know about this. No, I didn't know.
Yeah, it was she was supposed to have a really big role in it. She was supposed to like testify against Tony for his racket where he was selling the airline tickets that he had bought from that guy's sports store. But like she was supposed to testify against him, and that was going to be the season arc, and then she died and they had to pretty much completely redo the season.
That's terrible.
Which is kind of insane because I think that's like one of the best seasons of the show too. They were able to like salvage it the way they did.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like there was such a hiccup.
Yeah.
It flows pretty naturally, but that's quite a shame that the original intent couldn't be. And of course
yeah, and she was great too. She was like one of the best actors on the show. Like a show that has, one of the most famously praised casts of all time.
I think James Gandolfini as Tony Soprano might be my favorite overall acting performance of all time. It's just the amount of range
I
watch him in person. Like, he's a completely different person to Tony Soprano. It's amazing how he gets into character.
And he was able to give him so many little like affectations and like,
so much subtlety
and stuff. And he's such a physical actor too. Like he would do so much with his body and his face. Definitely a legend. And that's like one of the most difficult TV roles of all time too, because there's like so much nuance to his decision making, and you have to like play this character that he's like the main character, but like he's a big piece of shit and you're not supposed to like him and he's supposed to do bad things, but you're supposed to be like endeared to him. But he was still able to, over the course of the show, make you like him less and less, like as he does worse things.
It's kind of brilliant because you're getting manipulated by Tony Soprano in the same way that like the therapist is and the other characters are throughout because he's obviously like kind of sociopathic. He's a horrible person, but he has these like this little like copium moments where he does nice things, maybe as like a correction mechanism to make him feel better about himself. Like he really cares about the horse for some reason, even though he's literally murdering people. But he's like, "Oh, don't touch the horse. How could you kill this innocent creature?" Whatever. Or like just random affinities for specific characters at specific times.
Yeah, like just the perfect amount of heartwarming. Like just when you're like about to give up on him, you can see the humanity that's still in him too. That's so relatable.
Yeah, and he's obviously a horrible person, but he just grew up in this environment that made him that way and kind of pushed him towards that. So it makes you think about that kind of thing. I like The Sopranos because I feel like it is a dark comedy first. Like mostly it's almost like satire, but then it's got the moments of legitimate drama and thought-provoking and sometimes even surreal and artistic moments in there too. It's kind of everything. It's probably my favorite show. That or Mad Men are my two favorites.
I had forgotten like just how funny it was until I started rewatching it recently. But like season 1 is hilarious.
I love there's a scene where Anthony Jr. breaks into the school and then like two policemen bring the pizza box back to the pizza parlor. And there's just this exchange between the cops and the Italian pizza maker. It's just the funniest thing of all time. Yeah. He's like, this pizza pie fit a pattern? He's like, my pizza didn't hurt nobody.
I love when Chris gets the sfogliatelle from the bakery and he takes it back to Satriali's and he comes in and nobody really cares. So he gets all pissed off and he drops it on the table. And Polly's just like, oh, the sfogliatelle. What's the matter with you? It's just like the little human moments like that always get to me.
It's so good. I think the funniest moment of the series is when Tony's in a coma. That's spoilers. Tony's in the coma and Paulie's visiting him and Meadow says like, don't say anything negative. He can still hear you and it'll affect him. And then he's like, yeah. And then as soon as he sees Tony, he's like, oh, Maron, he looks terrible. Like the exact moment he sees it.
I love that. I love how Paulie's just always like complaining about something. He's always just like slightly distressed. It's so funny to me.
Any other TV shows or films that you're fond of?
I think the only other TV shows that I like as much as I do The Sopranos are like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. And my favorite TV show of all time is actually The Venture Brothers, a show that I use a clip of in like every video that I make.
I haven't seen that. I think I saw ads for it. Isn't that is that a cartoon?
Yeah, it's on Adult Swim. It's a really hard show to describe in less than like a paragraph, but it's basically like an adult Saturday morning action adventure cartoon with jokes.
I enjoyed that era of Adult Swim, I think.
Yeah, it was like one of the original shows on there, and it was on there for decades. It only had like 7 seasons though, but they would literally have like 3-year breaks between seasons because it was basically just 2 guys making it, and it's Adult Swim, so it's gonna have like a lower budget anyway.
Well, I'll have to check that one out. That sounds good. How about movies? Any favorite films?
My favorite movie is Starship Troopers, which I have also used clips from in several videos.
That's on my watch list. I haven't seen it, but it sounds good.
It's really good. It's so funny. It's so dark and like violent too. It's got everything.
What I know, it's like a satire about war, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a satire on like the
propaganda and
American war empire and propaganda. It's basically like a perfect allegory for 9/11, even though it came out in like 1997.
Interesting. Jeez.
Because it's like they go to the bug planet and just start blowing up the bugs, acting like they're this malicious threat that's trying to wipe out humanity, but they're literally just like these bugs on this planet somewhere. And they just send people over there to fight this war, and the bugs are just like tearing them up. It's funnier than it sounds.
There's humor to such a concept, I imagine. Sounds kind of similar to Nausicaa. Have you seen the movie Nausicaa? They're at war with a bunch of bugs.
Oh, I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it now.
I would recommend that. That was a great movie. Probably more serious in tone than Starship Troopers was, and maybe a bit different in its themes. I think it's more about like humans versus nature type of thing, rather than whatever Starship Troopers is going for.
Starship Troopers is really, really goofy. It's basically the whole joke of the movie is that it's like a propaganda movie made by the military
Oh, that's
that
fun.
the movie's about. Yeah, it's very like metatextual.
I like when movies experiment with the storytelling format in that way, like as an in-universe documentary or propaganda piece. And so
Yeah,
that sounds great.
I think my favorite movie from last year was Godzilla minus one.
I've heard great things about it. Yeah, still have
It's
not
like
checked that one out.
insanely good.
I'm not too familiar with like the Godzilla franchise, but it sounds inherently cool. Big dinosaur guy.
This one, Godzilla minus one is like an actual movie. It's kind of wild. It's about this it's a guy that was a kamikaze pilot in World War II, but he didn't carry out his final kamikaze mission. So everyone acts like he's this big disappointment, and he's the one who has to like find out how to deal with Godzilla. But it's also, since it is immediately after the aftermath of World War II, it's also about the people like not trusting the Japanese government to have their best interest in mind with regard to dealing with Godzilla. It's really interesting.
That sounds interesting. And I think the first Godzilla was inspired by the events of World War II, I believe. So that's kind of a
Yeah.
callback to the original intent of the whole thing.
Yeah, he's supposed to represent like the trauma from having been hit with a nuclear bomb.
Yeah. I'll be checking that one out when I can. Haven't had a lot of time to watch films and TV shows recently. Been working a lot on the channel.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. I definitely watch like 2 movies a year. My other movie I watched last year was Poor Things.
Oh, I loved that one.
Yeah, Poor
Very-
Things is incredible.
I'm a fan of the director Yorgos Lanthimos. It's cool to see his weird style getting like so much critical acclaim and praise in the
Yeah,
mainstream.
yeah,
Because
that
I've been a
was-
fan of him for a long time. I really like. He's very unique.
His my favorite of his is The Lobster. That's
Yeah,
like one of my
great
favorite
movie.
movies of all time.
Very very creative premise, and it's like this mix of whimsical and kind of fantastical, but also insanely dark and surreal. Like this surreal
Yeah,
horror.
like very bleak.
Yeah, it's very unique. I would recommend you guys watch The Lobster and Poor Things. Poor Things is pretty bizarre though. Like it might be a bit off-putting,
Yeah,
but
Poor Things is completely unlike any movie I've ever seen.
for real, yeah.
But it's fantastic. It's like every aspect of it, like the set design, the acting, the visual aesthetic.
Yeah,
It
that's
all works
really
so well.
unique visual style too. It's like, how do you even describe it? It kind of looked fake. Some of the sets.
What I had thought when I was watching it, I was thinking that it looked like Terry Gilliam. and
Yeah,
that,
true.
Someone else, I think it was Your Movie Sucks, had like said the same thing when I was watching their review of it.
Bit of like a Monty Python type of surreal vibe for sure.
Yeah, because it's like they don't make any attempt to make it look real, but it doesn't look bad. Like you know that you're looking at a CGI thing, but it
Yeah, it totally
still,
fits with the tone. It probably adds to
yeah,
it
it
even.
feels authentic to the universe of the movie.
100%. Did you see Dune?
No, I haven't. I've been meaning to.
I would recommend that. I was a big fan of the books, so I think it was a good adaptation.
And Denis Villeneuve definitely has a very striking visual style too. I really liked Blade Runner 2049.
Absolutely. Great film. Awesome to see him getting such mainstream recognition too. Dune was like the biggest movie of the year. That's awesome.
Yeah, it feels really good. I'm glad that Poor Things did as well as it did too, because that feels like a very niche movie. But like I feel like I heard so many people talking about it last year.
I spoke to BKC recently too in an interview, and I talked about how I feel like it feels a bit like cinema is healing from the superhero stuff. The biggest movies recently have all been like kind of original and interesting, like Barbie. Barbie's a big franchise, but it was at least like there was a genuine artistic statement in there. It was
Yeah,
more
like it
interesting.
wasn't like a movie they had made before. It did feel very fresh.
Yeah, and it's Greta Gerwig is a pretty good director too, and there was some personal connection there. And then Oppenheimer, obviously, and then Dune recently. It feels like every successful movie in recent couple of years has been like an actual work of art.
Yeah, like something that they made because they wanted to tell the story of it or to capture it or something, not just
Yeah.
to have another movie to tell the shareholders that you're going to be releasing in the coming quarter.
And on the other hand, like The Flash, that was a while ago now, but that was a complete flop. And The recent Marvel movies haven't been super successful.
Yeah, I've heard that they've like mostly been losing money in the last couple of years. It would be nice. Yeah, it would be nice for studios to not put all their eggs into, the couple of big superhero movies they put out each year and to actually give the budget to more like mid-budget creator-driven movies like how it used to be.
It's weird because they're profit driven, so that seems like it would be the better thing to do if you're looking at what's successful recently. But I think they always take the wrong lessons from these things. You're hearing about like after the success of Barbie, they're making like more toy franchise movies. Like, oh, Barbie did good. That means like Bratz the movie is going to go crazy. It's not because it was Barbie necessarily, It's because it was like it captured people's hearts.
Yeah. It's like they only look at it in terms of like what the movie is about and not how it's actually made.
Yeah.
Or not even what it's about, but like literally just like the one sentence description of it that they're familiar with.
Yeah, like the most surface level possible interpretation. Yeah. It's kind of a shame. Anyway, we also have a question from Get Milk to ask, best MF Doom album? Are you a fan of MF Doom?
I do like MF Doom, but I gotta be honest, the only album I know the name of is Food. But that is a very good album.
I would say Mad Villainy was his best album, personally. Have you heard that one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's got such songs as All Caps, which is an iconic one. Am I wrong about that? I think that was on that album.
That sounds right. I think my favorite Doom song is Hoe Cakes.
That's a good choice.
My friend recently in the RS200 tournament I'm hosting showed up with a Swampert named Hoe Quakes, and I definitely popped off a little bit.
That's epic. I used to be a big fan of hip-hop, but my musical taste has changed a lot over the years. What about you? Are you a music enjoyer? What kind of music are you into?
I definitely listen to hip-hop and rap. I really like Kendrick and Danny Brown. My favorite band is probably Ween. I reference Ween a lot in my videos.
Ocean Man.
Yeah, everybody loves Ocean Man.
That's the only song I know, I have to be honest. Yeah. But that one album that Ocean Man's from was quite well received, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's like their most well-known one. Ocean Man is definitely a bop. It's funny, like literally none of their songs sound like they're from the same band. They're like, I don't even know like what genre I would say Ween is. They literally just make music.
That's so cool though.
Like they have like their early albums are like kind of lo-fi punk albums. But they've also got like a country album. The Mollusk is kind of like a prog rock album, but it's also got like a song in it that's like an Irish drinking bar song. It's great. I love Ween.
I'll have to check that out. I love bands that reinvent themselves like that. Experiment with different sounds for certain.
I also really like Queens of the Stone Age and Eagles of Death Metal. Those are two Josh Homme bands.
Oh yeah. In terms of your editing style and your video style, do you have any creative influences, like other YouTubers that you've drawn from in that sense? Do you consume a lot of content on YouTube?
I do. I definitely watch more YouTube than I do like any streaming services or anything.
Me too, I think.
I definitely... A lot of my delivery in my videos is definitely inspired by Mike Staklasa from Red Letter Media.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
People were definitely quick to point out in the counter video, my little like interstitial segments, I was definitely just doing a Mr. Plinkett voice. As far as like the video editing, I really like the way that Imp Lemon incorporates clips into the videos that he makes.
Yeah, I really like his channel too. I think I would say he's a bit similar to your videos, even though you focus mostly on Pokemon. You bring a really interesting writing style and editing style that reminds me of Imp Lemon.
I do try to like make videos that don't necessarily feel like Pokemon videos, but they just feel like a video essay that just happens to be about Pokemon.
Yeah, that would be a good way to describe your videos. And you have branched out into other topics besides Pokemon, of course. I believe like your Yu-Gi-Oh video started with like some info about some ancient civilization. I can't recall. It's been a while, but the ancient game of like backgammon.
Oh, yeah.
The predecessor to backgammon or something.
Yeah, I was just talking about like the history of strategy games.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was funny because OCG Volume 1 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is literally just monsters that have numbers and they like don't even have effects. And you just put them down and the bigger monster wins. What a game. What a battle of wits.
That's true gaming, folks. Do you think in the future you would maybe transition to more of a variety channel, like essays about more topics like The Sopranos or whatever the hell's interesting you at the moment? I think you absolutely could.
I would like to, honestly. I don't know what I would feel qualified to talk about though. Is the thing. But I do have some ideas for videos that aren't like Pokemon related that I would like to make.
Yeah, everyone grapples with not feeling qualified to talk about certain things, myself included. I felt that way even when I was starting to do Pokemon analysis videos. I was like, am I an authority on this? There's always a bit of that kind of imposter syndrome. But I think you just gotta commit and just go for it.
I never feel like I want to actually give any like competitive commentary other than just like saying saying what the moves do and stuff, but giving my own opinion on how the metagame should be, because I'm always like, who am I? I'm not even good.
But at the same time, you're allowed to have your own perspective on that.
I do certainly have some opinions about how this generation of OU has been handled.
It has been quite a roller coaster. I feel like they're handling it well enough, considering the hand they were dealt. It's a chaotic pool of Pokemon to try and balance, right? They had no regard for singles when they were designing the generation, and it's ripple effects that you feel from that.
Yeah, that's definitely more obvious now than ever that like these Pokemon were not intended for 6v6 singles at all when you look at something like Chi-Yu or Iron Bundle. The final straw for me was just the sleep ban. That was when I like kind of officially recused myself from Gen 9 OU.
I think that was the one thing that I took issue with. Everything else I thought was fine. The people harp on like they haven't banned Goldengo, but I think Goldengo was proven to be manageable and stuff like that. And I don't know. I guess I disagree on King Gambit. I feel like King Gambit's stupid, but perhaps most want it. So if they want it, it's a democracy, whatever. But the sleep ban was interesting because it wasn't a suspect test, and there was like a weird justification for that, like a weird that I didn't really agree with. You are banning in a fundamental mechanic. I think that you gotta at least have some involvement with the community for that.
Yeah, like not only did they do it with no oversight, but also it means that it's banned from all the tiers below OU as well, which feels very like short-sighted and kind of messy.
Sleep has been to be fair, sleep is a very controversial thing. Some argue that it should be banned in all generations universally, and sleep clause makes the battle simulators not legal to cart, which is something some people value. I feel like I don't value that as much as some. We already have some mods for quality of life, and at this point I think it's just a legacy sense that sleep has just been a part of the game for so many years. It's not as if Gen 9 has its own broken variant of sleep like Gen 5 did, where you couldn't what was it, the sleep counter was kind of worked differently, and sleep was particularly broken there, so it makes sense to ban it there.
Yeah, like when you switch out, it always reset your sleep turns back to the maximum.
So that was a bit. You can understand sleep being banned there.
Like that's Gen 5 is the one generation I would agree with it getting banned from. In Gen 9, it just didn't feel like it was particularly oppressive compared to other generations. Like it was literally just Iron Valiant would use hypnosis sometimes. And sometimes when it was using it, it would beat you when it wouldn't have beat you otherwise. But like instead of banning Iron Valiant, they had to ban an entire mechanic and make a Mungus in you.
It's interesting because actually banning specifically hypnosis would kind of solve the problem. Because it was just Darkrai and Iron Valiant really abusing it, and the other sleep abusers like Amoonguss weren't that powerful or weren't that problematic. And there's actually more counterplay than ever to sleep, I think, with fellas like Goldengo and such, more grass types.
Yeah.
But it's a bit weird to ban specifically one sleep move just because that's what they happen to have. When I think that they don't put much care into who they distribute moves to. It is kind of broken and uncompetitive that Iron Valiant can be fast and maybe sleep you 60% of the time. That guy shouldn't get hypnosis, like design-wise. But how are you supposed to tackle that from their perspective? It is a bit of a philosophical debate that gets complicated. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's why because people always, like, people want them to do more complex bans and to, like, ban moves instead of Pokemon and stuff. But, like, I think it is better for them to just ban the entire Pokemon for that reason, because you don't just want to be here all day litigating what combination of moves will make a Pokemon tolerable. I get why they wouldn't just want to ban Hypnosis. It's kind of like the same reason why they didn't want to ban, like, Guerrilla Tactics instead of banning Darmanitan, because it's like, why would you ban this ability that's just a worse version of Huge Power?
Yeah.
It just seems like it would have been so much cleaner to just ban Iron Valiant if you think that's the Pokemon that's breaking sleep moves.
There was also Darkrai, so you'd have to ban Darkrai too. But maybe I kind of like Iron Valiant, actually. I feel like it's a good presence overall. But there's just that one thing. I suppose I don't necessarily even think the decision to ban sleep was wrong necessarily, or that it's resulted in a worse metagame. Maybe they shouldn't have done it through council vote for such a significant mechanic. This is just my thing.
Yeah, I don't know why it wasn't a suspect. I personally, I would not have banned Iron Valiant also. I think that Iron Valiant is good for the tier overall, probably. I don't even have, like, a huge problem with King Gambit, if I'm being honest. I think it is, like, it's a pretty degen Pokemon, but I think it's the kind of Pokemon that's good to have, because, like, it's sort of a broken checks broken thing at this point. King Gambit really does feel like it's kind of holding the tier together, like sucker punching the Quark Drive Mons before they just 6-0 you.
Yeah, and there is some counterplay to it. Like Zamazento's in the game now. That's a pretty good check to it. And Encore has been on the rise, which has more applications than just playing around Sucker Punch too. I feel like it's a useful move.
Yeah, like I've been using I was using like Encore, Ogerpon, and Hawlucha. Like there are a lot of things you can do to not lose to King Gambit, but it does like feel awful when it's their last Pokemon and it gets the Fallen 5 and it just starts sucker punching you.
Yeah, it's a bit stupid.
I am pretty glad that I am pretty glad that Gouging Fire didn't get banned though. I think Gouging Fire is pretty sick. I don't know if that's like a hot take or anything.
No, I think most people do like Gouging Fire. It is in a way it's a bit broken because it's burn immune and it's really bulky. It can snowball, but I feel like it's all right. It doesn't have that high attack.
Yeah, it feels like more blue collar than a lot of the other Paradox Pokemon.
Yeah, that's
like it's just like generally solid. It's not like super overwhelming.
Yeah. There's been a lot of suspect recently that have not resulted in bans, like Kyurem and Roaring Moon, I think, got suspected pretty recently too, and they didn't get banned. So maybe that's it. Maybe that means Gen 9 is stabilizing a bit, which is good.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Wait until they announce DLC 3.
That would be effed up. Crazy Where's PJ's asked, who is your Melee main? Are you a Melee player?
I am a Melee player. Not like I haven't like super played it to get better at it in many years, but that like honestly, I probably would say that Melee is like my favorite game of all time. I've played it on and off for a while. It if any of your minions are going to be near the central Tennessee area on July 28th, there will be a Melee tournament called Warehouse War, if any gamers are interested.
Gamers, you heed the call. There's gaming to be done. And who do you play in Melee?
To answer the question, I play Peach.
Dude, me too. I play Peach.
Oh, let's go.
I haven't played in a long time though, but I enjoy Peach. The reason I like Peach is because my least favorite part of Melee is analog input. I like everything, like all the mechanics, the movement, the set of characters, but I don't like, I used to play Falco, and I hate doing up tilts. And you have to do up tilts all the time with Falco. I don't like tilting the stick in just such a way that you don't jump, and accidentally jumping is so annoying. So Peach doesn't really have to use her up tilt, which is kind of why I like to play Peach. And also, I don't like the full hop, short hop mechanic, where you hold the button for a specific amount of time to full hop or short hop, but Peach can stop her jump midair with a float, which I think feels really comfortable for me to control compared to having to control your jump height with how long you press the button, which feels awkward to me.
That's definitely the biggest downside of getting into Melee is just like how needlessly hard a lot of the things are to do. And like part of it is the game, and then part of it is the GameCube controller.
Yeah.
Peach is like, I like that because she is a character that's pretty easy to pick up. Like she has some pretty intuitive moves, but also the float mechanic gives you a lot of stuff that you can optimize. Like she's a character with a really high ceiling too.
Yeah, there's cool tech, like you can do the float lands on platforms. Float canceling is a unique thing. There's a lot of, with the shield pressure, the aerial focus. It's an enjoyable playstyle, in my opinion.
Yeah, she's a very unique character compared to everyone else, and literally just has like an extra move because she has the float.
That's cool. A lot of people consider her lame though because of the down smash and emphasis on crouch canceling and defensive play.
Yeah, I know.
But I don't know.
I'll tell you that back in the day when Armada was playing, not that many people were saying Peach was as lame as they are now.
That's true. I mean, Armada was a very cool player. Armada is so cool.
Oh yeah, I could watch him play Peach for the rest of my life. He was like the reason that I played Peach in the first place.
Especially in doubles. Peach is much better in doubles, isn't she?
Yeah, she's so sick in doubles. Because she's like the anchor. Because like you could definitely just like tank with Peach. It's like you're the Secret Service for Fox.
Yeah. Do you ever find Melee like too difficult? I personally found the game. I was one of those average players that went 0-2 like 90% of the time and never really, like, I kind of hit a plateau and never improved beyond a certain point. It takes a lot of dedication. Maybe I had a bad attitude towards the game though. I should just have fun with it. But
it's probably one of the hardest games ever made to get better at, especially because it's also like one of those games at this point. Like the only people that are playing it now are people that have played it for decades. Or like it could be people that have picked it up in the last couple years, but those people have literally been grinding Slippy for like hours a week that entire time. And like fighting games in general, playing someone that's even slightly better than you at a fighting game can be like a truly miserable experience. You definitely have to have like an iron will to try to get better at Melee, I think, but it's very rewarding if you actually do.
I would agree. I think, have you seen Rivals 2, the new platform fighter coming out? I think that looks really good and I might play it.
Yeah, did you ever play the original Rivals?
I did, I really liked it.
Yeah, I played it like right after it came out, but I haven't played it in a while. I have been looking at the stuff for Rivals 2 coming out.
It looks fantastic.
I do like the direction that they've gone with that game, because it does do a lot of stuff different from Melee. It feels like its own thing.
And I thought Rivals 1 controlled really well, and it those issues I had with the analog input and the clunkiness of Melee weren't really in Rivals.
Yeah, because it let you customize the controller input too and everything like that. I don't know why Melee doesn't let you turn off tap to jump, because I have like never met a person in my life who preferred tap jump to hitting the Y button.
Just a relic of the time, I suppose. They didn't intend it to be a competitive game at the time, so that probably wasn't of utmost importance to them.
We're honestly lucky they even let you do like aerials and smash attacks with a C-stick, because like it doesn't do anything in single player. They probably had it just do nothing in the versus until right before it came out, if I had to guess.
That's a miracle. I can't imagine playing without the C-stick.
Yeah, I know. Especially with Peach. Because I claw grip when I play her too. Like have my index finger on the Y button and then have my thumb on the C-stick. So I can like float backwards but fair forwards, or like do retreating bears and stuff like that.
I got a question from Shiva, who asks, how does Reverend find his unbelievably based video game soundtracks he uses in videos?
So it's probably pretty obvious which ones are from games that I've like actually played. Like, I really like No More Heroes and Ratchet and Clank, and I use songs from those games specifically all the time. But a lot of the other ones, I will literally just look up, like, random game OST on YouTube and just, like, find one that I think would sound good. That's, like, there's a song that I've used in a lot of my recent videos that's from the Stuart Little 3 for Xbox game. Whoa. That I think is this like really cool sounding song that I literally just found because I was like, what would be a funny game to look up? Stuart Little game. And it was just there.
What if anyone has identified that song?
I think there was someone who commented on it in the counter video because I definitely used it in that one.
I'm gonna steal that one. Do you have much intention behind like where you put the music at what time? Because I put a weird amount of time into that, personally.
I do. I will usually like I'll cut up all of my like voiceover stuff first and then get that all put together, and then I'll just try out random songs until I find one that like will kind of fit the rhythm of what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And
I
then
do
I
the same
will
thing.
start
Yeah.
like manipulating the stuff after that to get it to stay with it.
It's hard to explain, but there's songs that just fit the vibe of what you're talking about at that second, and also there's moments where you want to change the song to keep the video flowing nicely as well. It's like putting a full stop when you change the song.
Yeah, it definitely does a lot for the mood of a video, for something that you wouldn't like. You would think that would be like an afterthought, like the last thing you do, but I do like think about how I use it a decent amount.
I don't know if you, I use the same couple of songs in every one of my videos for each phase. Like in the intro, I have the one Professor music from like Double Pearl, and then when I just start talking about the Pokemon, I chuck in like the Mystery Dungeon song. I feel like that adds like a familiar structure to the videos too. That's maybe subconscious for people. Like you hear the music and you register, this is the intro, this is this part.
Yeah, there is like something comforting about that. I know what you're saying. I use the same couple of songs in pretty much every video. Also, I do tend to like put them in a different order though.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I always used the it was a boss approaches from Super Mario 3D World. I like always use that as my intro. But
that's a good soundtrack.
It's a good song, but like it did not fit at all with the way I was talking because it's like this kind of upbeat, like jazzy song.
Yeah.
I want to start using it in videos more. There's some like songs that I love from like video game soundtracks that I will keep trying to use in videos, and it just never fits. So I have to just keep like awkwardly deleting it.
The best ones are songs that are kind of chill or that they sound like informative, whatever that means. Like the Professor music from Pokemon is a perfect fit, and I use a lot of the settings music from like the 3DS and the Wii U and the Wii.
Yeah,
like
no,
fits.
I use the internet settings music all the time.
Yeah, that's me too.
I think
That's
for
a good
3DS.
3DS internet settings. That's a jam.
And it's the Wii U eShop music is one that I use quite a bit too.
Those are popular. Heaps of videos use those. They just fit very well.
Yeah.
There's a funny thing I do whenever I talk about a Pokemon I don't like. I put in like the really sad music from Gen 6. It's like this sad piano music where I'm talking about like Toxapex as if it's an absolute tragedy that I have to talk about. That's a funny little thing I do.
Talking about Toxapex is like taking out the trash. Like at the end of the day, you got to do it, but you're not happy about it.
Speaking of which, what would you say is your least favorite Pokemon to play against in a competitive context? For me, it's Toxapex.
I think it would have to be a regenerator Pokemon. Or honestly, you know what? It's I really do not like Boots Skeledirge with Terra, if I'm being honest.
Oh, really?
I know that this isn't even like an OU Pokemon. It's like a mid UU Pokemon. But like every time I see it on the other team, I'm like, we're in for the long haul this time. It's gonna be a long night, boys.
True.
Something about just like an unaware Pokemon with good stats just does not sit well with me.
It can be a bit annoying to break, but at least it only has 8 recovers now. And once it becomes Fairy, you can hit it with Steel moves, which I feel like is pretty common to have some Steel moves, like with King Gambit. But yeah, I know what you mean.
It honestly might be Toxapex the more I think about it.
It's just an effed up Pokemon.
Yeah. It's just so good. It feels like it was designed in a lab to do what it does. It feels like a ROM hack Pokemon, kind of.
Yeah, I always talk in my videos about how the best Pokemon are like a balance of good and bad traits. But the Toxapex, they gave it too much. The fact that it has like knockoff, it has hazards, it has scald, and it's bulky. It's got like 1 million defense and special defense on its own, and it has regen, which is like the best ability in the game. I think it even has haze for anti setup sweepers. They went too far.
Yeah,
they went too far with
does.
it. It did get severely nerfed though in Gen 9, which is good. That's a positive thing.
Yeah, definitely have not been seeing it recently. I remember at the very beginning of Gen 9 when people were using the assault vest Toxapex with like max special attack, modest surf, and infestation.
Yeah,
That was kind of cool.
That was quite interesting. Offensive Toxapex.
I wonder if that's still a meta call against anything.
I feel like I saw a Blunder video or something where he was doing that, but I don't know. Maybe that was just him goofing around.
I remember getting whooped by it. I thought it was like a legit set.
I think it was for a time. I think the infestation one was like actually being used by good gamers.
Oh, also playing RS200 recently, I think that I would add Milotic to this list.
Oh, yeah. RS200 is the Ruby Sapphire metagame, folks, before Emerald came out. So it's Gen 3 OU, but like with way less, there's certain move tutor options and egg moves you can't get. And like the Fire Red Leaf Green Pokemon aren't in yet. And notably, there's no sand, which means that Pokemon like Milotic are significantly better because they don't have to worry about sand chip, which can be quite an issue, can't it?
There's no sand, and there's also like there's no like Celebi, no Zapdos. All of the electric types are pretty terrible. The best grass type is like Ludicolo.
That's rough.
It gets like it doesn't even get 2-hit KO'd by max special attack Starmie Thunderbolt.
Yeah, people already take issue with Milotic and Gen 3 OU with much more to counter it. So it meant you get rid of all that. That's it. Is that like a top tier Pokemon? I imagine it's very good.
It's really good, yeah. The one kind of bright spot is that like Magneton is probably even better than it is in regular ADV. So you can have like this pretty strong Thunderbolt to hit it with, but you still have to like double switch in against it. You kind of got to play the long game and like bring things in when it recovers that can 2-hit KO it. It's like playing against like Reflect, Rest, Snorlax, and RBY.
To be frank, it doesn't sound like a great metagame. Like it sounds pretty limited, and a lot of the mechanics in Gen 3 that keep that annoying defensive gameplay in check aren't there yet. Like Sub is not common. And Sub is a very important move for balance, I think.
It's a very top-heavy metagame, yeah. It's more centralized around like the offensive threats than the stall ones, though.
Right.
Milotic is like pretty much the only like blanket check, and it feels like it beats like everything, though.
And then Skarmory is very good, isn't it?
Oh yeah. The one of the weeks in the tournament in my Discord, it had like 70% usage or something.
Surprised it's not 100. I would have thought it might be like just absurdly dominant.
If there was no Magneton, I'm sure it would be.
Spicy Dicey Boy asked, "Hey Reverend, what's the best sandwich bread?" Which is an interesting question. You ever had Turkish bread?
I don't think so.
It's delicious. What's your answer though? You sandwich bread preferer?
I like a nice Italian loaf.
True.
I like pita. A little pita pocket's pretty good too.
Great answers. An Italian, like a ciabatta.
Yeah, or like a nice brioche.
Oh yes. What is your favorite food? Random question.
Sushi probably.
Really?
Or curry. It's one of those two.
Sushi's a popular one. You mean like the raw fish?
Yeah. Yeah. You not a fan?
I feel like every gamer loves sushi. Like, I don't know. I find it a bit weird, but maybe it's an acquired taste.
I can see how it could be pretty polarizing.
I'm just surprised. I thought it would be a difficult thing to get into for most people, but it actually seems quite popular, which I find surprising.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of it's been like a more recent thing, because I feel like when I was younger, like everyone was just talking about how gross it was, about people just eating like raw fish. I'm like a fiend for seaweed. I think that's what really brings the sushi flavor palette together.
It is damn good. I agree. I've been getting into Chinese food recently.
Oh yeah, I like me some lo mein. Is that Chinese or is that Japanese? Actually,
I think it's Chinese.
All right, let's go.
Chinese barbecue is very underrated. Everyone knows about like Korean and Japanese barbecue, but I think more people should try Chinese barbecue. It's excellent.
Huh. Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever heard that combination of words before either. Definitely familiar with some good Korean barbecue.
Like every region of China has their own twist on the barbecue, so there's a lot of variety as well.
My state is supposedly kind of known for its barbecue.
Is that Texas or something?
It's Tennessee. It's mostly Memphis barbecue.
Do you play chess? There's a question here about chess.
I know how to play chess. I don't really choose to play it that often. I don't consider myself very good at it.
I see.
I think I'm really bad at long-term planning.
I had a phase where I was really into chess, but it's too hard. You talked about like the melee skill gap, and everyone's been playing it for years. Chess times that by 100.
It's too hard, and it seems like the people who get to the top don't really enjoy chess very much when they get there.
It's true. It is a good. I think it's a good game to play casually though, like just to get your mind going.
Yeah, if you're playing against someone that's like exactly as good as you, it's definitely, there's a reason people are still playing it in this century AD.
I think it might literally be impossible to like get to the top level of chess though, like at my age, because everyone has just been playing it since they were a kid, and then they just know everything. Like they've memorized a million lines. It's nuts. Like getting good at melee in a couple of years is possible, and people have done that as hard as it is. But I think in chess it's another level of difficult, which is crazy.
Yeah, because the people that are better than you now are only gonna keep that head start, and if they keep playing, they're just gonna keep getting better too.
The rich get richer or something like that.
Oh yeah, so it goes.
Have you got any other interesting hobbies or passions outside of Pokemon, computer science, gaming?
I like to cook. I think cooking's a
Cool.
pretty fun activity.
What do you like to cook?
I really like to make moussaka, which is like it's like a Greek eggplant casserole.
Oh,
It's
delicious.
basically like a lasagna, but with eggplant instead of the
Oh, I think
lasagna
I think
pasta.
I've had that before. Yeah, that was really good. I've become an eggplant respecter recently. I used to not like it, but I think you just have to cook it properly, which most people don't.
Yeah, it's got a really unique flavor. You have to before you cook it, you have to drain it of a lot of the moisture that's in it, and that'll make it less bitter. So you
Yeah,
can brine it.
that's the key, and I think it can be soggy and a bit not the best texture if you don't cook it right or you don't prepare it right as well.
Yeah, it can get the skin can get really chewy if you don't do it right.
There's this Chinese braised eggplant dish called Disan. It's like the best food of all time. It's delicious when it's cooked well.
The Chinese eggplant, that's like the long one, right?
Actually, I don't know what it looks like. It's chopped up when they prepare it. So maybe it's long
Yeah.
or it's different in some way. But
You ever have a ratatouille?
no, but I'm a fan of the film. But I haven't
Yeah.
had the actual. It seems like a pretty basic dish, right? It's just some veggies.
Yeah,
but
it's literally just steamed vegetables, but
is it good?
it's good. Yeah, I'm a vegetable enjoyer.
As you should be. Vegetables are good.
I feel like I've been progressively more grossed out by meat the last couple of years. I have been trying to work it out of my diet as much as I can.
That's honorable, and it is cheaper, better for the environment, and probably healthier to have more vegetable dishes. You ever cook with chickpeas and lentils? You can make some really good hearty filling meals with those.
Oh yeah, I love hummus.
Absolutely, yeah. One of the go-to things I cook for myself is a lentil soup, like a Mediterranean-style lentil soup with just a bunch of paprika. It's really simple, but just lentil soup with some olives and spinach. Really delicious.
Yeah.
Easy to cook. Healthy, I think.
Yeah, you can definitely you can do a lot with just a couple ingredients.
I feel like paprika is OP. That's the best spice.
Oh yeah, it's like every spice. It feels so versatile.
Generally, smokiness is such a good flavor. The paprika adds
Oh,
a
yeah.
little smokiness.
Need to get a grill. Start charring some veggies.
That sounds like a lot of effort, though. I think we have a barbecue.
I've been wanting to try the grilled cactus leaves recently for some reason.
Cactus leaves. Oh, I can't say I've ever had such a thing. It's interesting.
Yeah, neither have I. I have no idea what they're supposed to taste like, but apparently people eat them, so maybe there's a reason why.
That's the secret to long life, perhaps.
You ever have a prickly pear?
No, I have not.
It's like
Is that-
the fruit that grows on a
I
cactus.
should try that. I've been trying a lot of fruits recently that I never tried before. In China, they have a lot more. I went to China recently. There's a lot more variety in fruits and vegetables over there, I feel like.
Ah.
Like over here, most people just eat apples, bananas, oranges, lettuce, cabbage, spinach. Over there, they go
Yeah.
I'll ask my partner, what is that vegetable? She's just vegetable. Because she doesn't know the name in English because no one uses it over here.
Oh yeah.
But it'll be some delicious thing I've never had in my life.
I love multicultural foods. I've been trying to broaden my my fruit palette recently as well. I had a star fruit for the first time recently.
Oh, how's that?
Pretty
I've not
good.
had that.
It basically just tastes like it's like a little more tart apple, but it has like a really rich texture. It's kind of hard to
Interesting.
describe.
I'll have to give it a go.
It's got a really nice like crunch to it.
You ever had dragon fruit? That's delicious.
Oh yeah, I these dragon fruits and craft beer are killing my bank account.
Where dragon fruit's a craft. Dragon fruit's expensive, but they probably are.
Yeah.
You a craft beer enjoyer?
Oh yeah.
You ever have Rodenbach ale?
I feel like I've heard that name,
It's
but I don't
Trappist
think I've
ale.
had it. No.
My buddy used to work at a craft beer shop, and he would give me discounts, and I got into it for a bit. Do you know about Trappist monks? It's really interesting.
No, I don't think so.
They're these monks, for whatever reason, to like, I guess, fund their monasteries. They brew beer, and it's like the best beer of all time. It's like really good. This is Chimay and Rodenbach, these beer brands that are made by monks.
That's really interesting. I haven't heard of that before.
I would definitely recommend you try Rodenbach Vintage. It's a bit pricey, but it's delicious. It's like a bit fruity and sour.
That's fine. Damn the expense.
I have them on special occasions because you can't have them all the time. One of the joys in life. What kind of drinks do you enjoy?
My preferred brewery is Sierra Nevada.
Oh yeah?
They make IPAs. Their signature beverage is called the Hazy Little Thing.
I can enjoy a good IPA.
I try to mix it up. I usually get like I'll get a 6-pack of like whatever, and then also get like the create your own and try to like get stuff that I haven't had before whenever I make my beer store trip. Been really enjoying ciders lately.
Oh yes. I'm a cider fan too. Do you do this often? Is it expensive for you?
I mean, I'm definitely getting them every time I go to the grocery store.
There you go, folks. It's
the creative juice. The RBY Ubers video wouldn't be here without it.
after talking about counter for however long you were, you probably need a drink. Isn't that right? Ain't that the truth, fellas? Am I right, gamers?
I gotta kill these brain cells so they stop thinking about the stat overflow glitch. I don't need that in there taking up space.
Well, I think we'll wrap things up. I've got to like do videos and have food and stuff like that, but we'll end it with one question.
Okay.
Reverend, when is the video for Monster Rancher 2 Ubers coming out?
When, probably whenever I find out what you do in Monster Rancher. I'm not, like,
Well,
entirely sure.
I hope you do, because that sounds like an excellent video.
I've got my best minds on the case.
Your team is on it. Well, alright. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat. Great conversation. Big fan of your channel, so it was awesome to finally do some sort of collaboration. Really
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm a fan of your channel as well, Mr. Cool.
Oh, well, thank you. See you later.
See ya.